I wasn't planning to stand out that night. The annual Christmas dinner at the Sterling Hotel was meant to be just another corporate circus: sparkling dresses, forced laughter, and a buffet that never quite lived up to the hype. I told myself I'd smile through it, make small talk, and leave before the karaoke started. But fate had other plans. We were halfway through the main course when my boss, Ryan, raised his champagne food toward me and said, "Loud enough for everyone at the table to hear. So, did you enjoy your $10,000 bonus, Emily?" My fork clinked against the plate. For a second, I thought I'd misheard him. $10,000? My heart stuttered. My mouth went dry. The entire table turned toward me, their eyes curious, some impressed, some envious. The VP of operations even gave a little clap, saying, "That's what loyalty gets you." I forced a smile so tight it hurt my cheeks. "Oh, yeah," I said weakly. "Very generous." But inside, I was screaming because I hadn't received a bonus, not a single cent. My bank balance was still sitting exactly where it had been for months, barely above zero, hovering between anxiety and overdraft. Ryan kept talking, bragging about the company's growth, how the team had earned every dollar. But I wasn't listening anymore. All I could hear was the pounding in my ears. When I glanced across the table, I caught the HR manager, Olivia, mid-sip. For half a second, her glass froze, her eyes darted to Ryan, then back to me. Just a flicker of panic before she pasted on her practice smile again. Most people wouldn't have noticed, but I did. That tiny pause was enough to confirm what my gut already knew. Something wasn't right. The laughter around the table felt hollow, the chandelier's light too harsh. I excused myself under the pretense of taking a call and slipped into the hallway. My phone screen glowed against the dim light as I logged into the payroll portal. The room outside buzzed with fake cheer while my thumb scrolled down to the last pay stub. There it was. Code BN10. Holiday bonus, $10,000. Status, processed. I blinked. Processed. Not pending, not upcoming, processed, which meant it had been paid, except it hadn't. My checking account was bone dry. My card declined twice that week. I stared at the numbers until they blurred. My stomach twisted with that sick mix of confusion and dread. Then just below the bonus code, I saw something else. RTN hold. Pending verification. I didn't know what it meant, but I knew it wasn't normal. My fingers trembled as I screenshotted the page. When I returned to the ballroom, everything felt different. The music too loud, the laughter too sharp. Olivia HR avoided my eyes. Ryan toasted again, calling everyone family. Family. The word burned in my throat. I stayed just long enough to not draw attention, then left before dessert. The winter air slapped my face as I stepped outside. Snow had started to fall, soft and silent, a cruel contrast to the storm in my head. My apartment was a 20-minute drive from the hotel, but it felt longer that night. The streets were glittering with Christmas lights, but I barely saw them. I got home, kicked off my heels, and sat on the floor with my laptop open. Payroll portal again. Same numbers, same lie. $10,000 that existed on paper, but not in reality. I refreshed the page over and over until the screen dimmed. I checked my bank again, nothing. Not a trace. My rent was due in 4 days. My car payment already late. And someone, somewhere in that polished office, had marked my bonus as paid. At 2 a.m., I finally sent an email to HR. Subject, bonus discrepancy. The message was careful, polite, maybe too polite. "Hi, Emily. I noticed that my bonus, BN10, shows as processed on my payroll record, but the funds haven't appeared in my account. Could you please confirm the transfer status? Thank you, Emily." I hovered over the send button for a long time, my finger trembling. Then I clicked. The email whooshed into the void, and I sat staring at my reflection in the Bark laptop screen. Somewhere between exhaustion and anger, I whispered to myself, "If they think I'll let this go, they picked the wrong person." The next morning, HR replied, fast, too fast. "Hi, Emily. Thank you for reaching out. It's likely a bank delay due to the holiday volume. Please allow 1 to 2 business days. Best, Olivia." It read like a script, rehearsed and empty. My gut twisted again. I typed back, "Understood, but my paycheck posted on time. Only the bonus is missing. Could you please verify if it left your system?" Then I waited. No reply. By lunch, my anxiety had curdled into suspicion. I opened Slack, scrolled until I found Sam, one of the payroll analysts I occasionally chatted about random office gossip. I typed, "Hey Sam, random question. What does RTN hold mean on a bonus line?" He read it. Then nothing. 10 seconds, 20, 1 minute. Then finally he replied with a single emoji, the zipped mouth face. My stomach dropped. I sent one more message. "Is it bad?" He hesitated again, then wrote, Can't talk here. Check your stub notes. That was it. I checked again, eyes scanning every gray line of text until one phrase stood out near the bottom. Manual override. BN10. My pulse thudded in my neck. Manual override. Not system error, not delay. Someone had gone in and changed it. Someone had decided my bonus would never hit my account. I leaned back in my chair, heart pounding. I wasn't just missing money, I'd been targeted. And if they thought I'd just shrug and move on, they were about to learn how wrong they were. The Monday after the Christmas party, the office looked like a hangover in progress. Half the staff called in sick, and the rest wandered around clutching oversized coffees, pretending to be productive. I sat at my desk, trying not to stare at my inbox, refreshing it every few minutes for a reply from HR that never came. The fairy lights someone had strung across the cubicles blinked weakly, their cheer already fading. By noon, I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my notebook and marched down the hall to HR. Olivia's door was half open, her voice soft as she ended a phone call with a sugary, "Of course, I'll take care of it." When she looked up and saw me, her smile flickered, the same fake warmth she used during company photo days. "Emily, everything okay?" I stepped inside. "Just following up about my bonus, the one that says processed but didn't arrive." Her hand froze on the mouse. For a moment, the silence between us felt like a test. Then she laughed lightly. "Oh, yes, that. We've had some system glitches lately. IT is sorting it out." I watched her eyes. They didn't match her tone. "Right," I said, "because Sam in payroll told me to check my stub for a manual override." The color drained slightly from her face before she forced another smile. "Oh, Sam shouldn't have said anything. He's not authorized to interpret codes." "I'm not asking for interpretations, just answers." The air thickened. Olivia folded her hands, the gold ring on her finger glinting under the fluorescent light. "Emily, we value your work here, but sometimes internal processes aren't for employees to worry about." There it was, condescension wrapped in diplomacy. I nodded slowly, pretending to understand. "So, it's being handled." "Of course," she said too quickly. "Just be patient." I left her office, but the conversation replayed in my head like static. Her tone wasn't reassuring. It was rehearsed, the kind of calm that covers panic. I opened my notebook and jotted every word she'd said, every hesitation, every detail. The longer I looked at my notes, the more obvious it became. This wasn't a system issue. This was people, and people leave trails. That night, after putting my 8-year-old daughter Lily to bed, I opened my laptop again. Payroll, bank account, email chain. Every window told the same story. The company said processed, the bank said no. I scrolled through past pay stubs for the previous 2 years. Holiday bonuses, smaller ones, always labeled BN10. None of them had that RTN hold code, just this year's. My stomach turned. I printed copies, labeled each with a sticky note, and slid them into a folder. On the cover, I wrote in pen, "The disappearing bonus." Dramatic maybe, but it made me feel grounded. Before bed, I texted Janet, my friend who worked nights managing accounts at a logistics firm. She had a knack for spotting numbers that didn't make sense. I wrote, "Can I send you something weird?" "Payroll stuff." She replied instantly, "Send it. I love weird." I emailed the screenshots, the stub, the HR reply. Within 15 minutes, she called me. "Girl," she said, not even saying hello, "someone rerouted your money. That manual override, that's human input. Someone touched your file." My skin prickled. "You sure?" "Positive. See that code RTN hold? That's retention hold, usually used for executives, like deferred payments. But the manual override means someone overrode system logic and sent it somewhere else." I rubbed my temple. "Could that be, like, a mistake? If it were a mistake, there'd be a correction log by now. But you're not seeing one, are you?" "No." "Then it's deliberate." Her words hung heavy in the quiet of my kitchen. "Emily, you need to be careful," she added. "Document everything. Don't confront anyone alone again." The next morning I arrived at the office early. Too early. The halls were quiet, the hum of servers the only sound. I logged into my computer and opened the payroll portal again. Something new appeared on the dashboard. "Account access restricted. Under review." My breath caught. They'd locked me out. I grabbed my phone, snapped a picture of the screen, then minimized everything before anyone walked in. Around 10, Ryan strolled by my desk, coffee in hand, reeking of expensive aftershave and false confidence. "Morning, superstar," he said with that salesman grin. "All ready for Q1?" I forced a smile. "Always." "Good to hear." He leaned closer, his tone lowering. "Heard you were asking around about bonuses. Everything all right?" My pulse quickens, but I kept my face neutral, just checking on some confusion with payroll. He chuckled, a sharp sound that didn't reach his eyes. "You know how it is. Corporate systems, always messy. Just trust the process." Trust the process. I'd heard that line before, usually right before someone got screwed. That afternoon, an email popped up from IT. "Please note your payroll access is temporarily restricted for system maintenance." Maintenance, my ass. They were hiding something. I spent the rest of the day pretending to work while quietly taking screenshots of every trace of correspondence related to BN10. Olivia passed by twice, offering that strained, polite smile that felt like a warning. When I got home, I added the new screenshots to my folder. The disappearing bonus was growing thicker. Later that night, Janet called again. She said, "I did a little digging. The retention hold codes like yours usually route through something called an internal pool account. If your company's misusing that, it's serious." "Serious how?" I asked. "Like if compliance serious?" "Federal serious." My heart pounded. "So if they're moving employee bonuses into another account, then someone's pocketing the difference," Janet said bluntly. "And that someone isn't low-level payroll." For the first time, the anger I'd been swallowing turned into focus. This wasn't about $10,000 anymore. It was about trust and power. I opened the blank document, titled it Evidence Log, and started typing. Dates, names, screenshots, emails, everything. I didn't know where this was heading yet, but I knew one thing for sure. Whatever they were hiding, I was going to find it. And when I did, they were going to regret underestimating the woman they thought would just smile and stay quiet. The next week felt like a game of chess where every move I made was being watched. HR stopped replying to my emails, my access to payroll remained under review, and every time I walked into the break room, conversations went quiet a little too quickly. People had started whispering, but not loud enough to be useful. I needed facts, proof that what Janet said was true. On Tuesday morning, I found my opening. Sam from payroll, the one who first mentioned the manual override, was standing by the copier, yawning into his coffee. I caught his eye. "Hey, Sam," I said casually. "Quick question about that payroll code." His shoulders stiffened immediately. "Oh, Emily, I can't really talk about that stuff. Olivia said all inquiries should go through HR." "Sure," I said, stepping closer. "But you were the one who helped me spot it in the first place. I just need to understand if it's a glitch or not." He hesitated, glancing around to make sure we were alone. Then he leaned closer and whispered, "It's not a glitch, but I never said that." "Then what is it?" "It's a reroute flag, used for temporary holds. Sometimes bonuses get batched from managers before they're sent out." My heart raced. "Managers like who?" "I don't know," he said quickly. "I just process what they give me. But Emily, be careful. People have gotten fired for asking too many questions." That warning stayed with me all day. Fired for asking questions. Was that what they were planning next? By lunch, I decided to test them. I sent a polite email to HR. "Hi, Olivia. I've been unable to access my payroll records for over a week. Please confirm when I can expect resolution. Emily." 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A new message. "Please stop contacting HR directly. Your concern is under executive review." Executive review? Since when did missing bonuses qualify for executive oversight? That night, Janet came over with takeout and her laptop. We sat at my kitchen table surrounded by noodles, printouts, and exhaustion. "Okay," she said, scanning the documents. "Here's what I found. The internal pool account your money got rerouted to, it's a shadow account linked to something called retention incentive funds. But the thing is, it's not supposed to hold employee bonuses. It's for executive carryovers." I frowned. "So why would mine end up there?" "Because someone manually pushed it through, probably using your employee ID." "Which means they'd have to log in under their own credentials," I said slowly. "Exactly," she replied. "If we can get that log, we'll know who." I stared at her screen, my pulse pounding. "But only IT has access to login logs." "Then maybe," Janet said with a mischievous grin, "you should make a friend in IT." The next morning, I brought donuts to the IT department. Not the cheap kind, the good ones from the bakery across the street. Small talk, smiles, harmless flattery. It's amazing how far sugar and curiosity can get you. By the time I reached Ben, the quiet systems analyst who rarely left his desk, I'd already planted the idea that HR's system glitch might be a network issue. Just wanted to check if there's a record of who accessed my file last week. HR told me IT was reviewing it. Ben pushed up his glasses, typing something into his terminal. Yeah, I see it here, but wait, he frowned. That's odd. 2 admin logins accessed your record within the same hour. Who? I asked. He squinted at the screen. Olivia from HR and Ryan. Ryan. My boss. My pulse thundered in my ears. You sure? Yeah, Ben said, glancing up. But you didn't hear that from me. The rest of the day was a blur. Ryan acted normal. Too normal. He cracked jokes in the hallway, stopped by my desk with fake encouragement, even complimented my quarterly report. Every word felt like poison. At 5:30 p.m., when the office emptied out, I stayed behind. The cleaning crew wouldn't arrive until 6. Perfect. I slipped into the conference room, connected my laptop to the projector, and opened the file Janet had helped me organize. The disappearing bonus. I added a new slide, access logs, unauthorized activity. Under it, I wrote 2 names, Olivia from HR and Ryan, manager. Then I took screenshots of Ben's console output, timestamps, access IDs, everything, evidence. The following morning, I found a meeting invite waiting in my inbox. Performance review, attendance mandatory. From Ryan, scheduled for 2 p.m. My stomach dropped. That wasn't a review, that was a setup. They were about to make their move. I printed everything, backed up my files to an encrypted drive, and tucked the USB in my purse. If they were going to corner me, I'd make sure I wasn't walking in unarmed. At 1:59 p.m., I knocked on Ryan's door. Olivia was already inside, her posture rigid, a folder neatly placed in front of her. Ryan gestured for me to sit. Emily, he began, voice therapy sweet, we've noticed some concerning activity lately. You've been accessing confidential payroll files, contacting staff outside your department, and spreading misinformation. Misinformation? I repeated. You mean the truth? Olivia interjected smoothly. Emily, we've always appreciated your enthusiasm, but this behavior undermines team trust. Team trust? I leaned forward. You mean the trust you broke when you rerouted my bonus into an executive pool account? The air snapped. Ryan's smile faltered. I don't know what you think you know. I know you accessed my file. I have the log, timestamped, with your name on it. Olivia's hand trembled just slightly as she flipped her folder shut. Ryan's jaw clenched, the fake charm melting into anger. You're out of line. Maybe, but I'm not wrong. The silence stretched for what felt like forever before Olivia stood up abruptly. We'll reconvene this discussion later, she said, her voice brittle. Ryan shot her a glare but didn't argue. I stood too, clutching my evidence folder like armor. You do that, I said softly. I'll be ready. That night my phone buzzed with a text from Janet. They're panicking. Check your email. I opened my inbox and froze. A new message from HR Executive Administration read, your employment status is under review pending an internal investigation. Effective immediately, you are suspended with pay. They thought they'd silenced me. They had no idea the storm that was coming. Suspension. The word itself felt heavy, final, like being shoved off a cliff while someone smiled and called it a break. The email said with pay, but I knew better. This wasn't a courtesy, it was containment. They wanted me quiet, disconnected, away from systems I could still access, and maybe, they hoped, scared. For the first few hours, I was. I sat on the couch staring at my laptop, rereading the message until the words blurred. Then fear gave way to anger. They thought cutting me off would stop me. They didn't realize I'd already copied everything I needed. The next morning, I took Lily to school, forced a smile as she hugged me goodbye, and then drove straight to Janet's office. Her company's building was sleek glass and steel, the kind of place where people actually smiled at work. She met me in the lobby with 2 coffees and her signature no-nonsense tone. You look like hell, she said. Good morning to you too, I muttered. So, suspended. She raised an eyebrow. Predictable. They're circling the wagons. I handed her the USB. Everything's on here. Payroll logs, emails, access screenshots. She plugged it in and started scrolling. Damn, she whispered. You've got enough here to blow this up, if we can prove they redirected funds. How do we do that? Follow the trail. The money went somewhere. Find where. Janet worked fast. Within an hour, she traced the rerouted transactions to an internal holding account at a bank called First Central Corporate. It was registered under the company's name but with a secondary contact, R. Coleman, Ryan's full name. My heart sank and surged at the same time. He used his own credentials? Looks like it, Janet said. Cocky idiot probably thought no one would ever check. Can we get statements? I asked. She smirked. Leave that to me. While she worked, I started drafting a timeline of everything that had happened. The Christmas party conversation, Olivia's evasions, Sam's warnings, Ben's logs, the meeting ambush. Every piece fit together now like a map of their greed. Around 2 p.m., Janet called from her desk. Got it, she said, sending a PDF to my laptop. The internal account made 3 outbound transfers in the past 6 months, all to a shell entity called RC Consulting Services. RC, I murmured. Ryan Coleman. Bingo! He's literally funneling employee bonuses into his own fake company. My stomach twisted. It wasn't just about me. It was everyone. Dozens of employees, maybe hundreds, shorted so he could pad his own pockets. We can't just sit on this, I said. We won't, Janet replied, but we need strategy. If we go public too early, they'll spin it, claim it's a misunderstanding. We need leverage. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, the glow of my laptop casting shadows across the room. Every time I thought of Ryan's smirk, Olivia's polished lies, my chest tightened. By 3 a.m., I opened my laptop again and started writing. Not an email, not a complaint, a full report. Dates, screenshots, statements. I formatted it like an audit memo and labeled the top Confidential, Unauthorized Fund Diversion Report. Then I added a single line at the end. If this document is ignored, it will be submitted to the Department of Labor's Office of Inspector General within 48 hours. The next morning, I sent it to the company's legal department, CC to HR, payroll, and yes, Ryan. Within 5 minutes, my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. This is Emily. This is Helen Drake, corporate counsel for the firm, the woman said briskly. I've reviewed your email. I'd like to schedule a meeting. Today. At 4 p.m., I walked into the downtown office where legal operated. The room was cold, all glass walls and polite tension. Helen was sharp-eyed and calm, the kind of woman who could end careers with a single sentence. You've made serious allegations, she said, sliding a printed copy of my report across the table. We need to confirm your evidence before we proceed. I'll find it's all real, I said quietly. Ryan Coleman rerouted multiple employee bonuses, mine included, into an account tied to his consulting firm. Olivia Bennett in HR approved it. Her jaw tightened just slightly. You're sure? Positive. I have the logs and the bank routing details. I opened my folder and handed her the printouts. She studied them for several minutes, her expression shifting from skepticism to alarm. This, she said slowly, is criminal. Then she did something I didn't expect. She closed the folder, leaned forward, and lowered her voice. Miss Carter, do not contact anyone else about this. Not HR, not your manager. I'll handle it internally for now. For now? I echoed. We'll need to verify everything first. If what you're saying is true, the company could face serious penalties. As I left the building, the wind outside felt sharper, cleaner somehow. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't doubting myself. I wasn't paranoid. I was right. That night, Janet called. You stirred the hornet's nest, she said. Ryan's been in meetings all afternoon. Word is, he's furious. Let him be, I said. He built this mess himself. You think they'll fire him? If they're smart, they'll do more than that. 2 days passed. Silence. Then, on Friday morning, an email hit my inbox. Subject, investigation outcome. My hands trembled as I opened it. Dear Emily, following your report and subsequent internal review, we have confirmed unauthorized financial activity by former employee Ryan Coleman and HR Director Olivia Bennett. Both have been terminated effective immediately. The company has taken corrective measures to restore affected funds. Your bonus has been reinstated and an additional compensation package has been approved for your integrity and cooperation during this process. I stared at the screen, stunned. Then a second email arrived from Helen Drake herself. Emily, if you're open to it, the executive board would like to meet with you Monday. They're considering offering you a compliance oversight role. For a long time, I just sat there, the tension in my body finally breaking apart into shaky laughter. They tried to bury me and ended up handing me the shovel. That evening, I picked up Lily from school. She climbed into the car, grinning, waving the little Christmas ornament she'd made in art class. Mommy, are you happy now? She asked. I smiled, eyes stinging just a little. Yeah, baby. I think I finally am. As the sun set behind us, painting the sky gold and crimson, my phone buzzed one last time. A message from an unknown number. You have no idea what you started. I stared at it. The
the smile fading. The storm wasn't over. It had just begun.
Monday morning, the city felt different. Brighter almost, but in that uneasy way a sky looks right before a thunderstorm. I ironed my blouse, tied my hair back, and told myself to breathe. Today was the board meeting, the one where they'd formally recognize my report and discuss the compliance position they'd mentioned. It should have felt like victory, but that text, "You have no idea what you've started," had been replaying in my mind all weekend like a haunting echo. When I walked into the building, the front desk receptionist froze for a second, then smiled nervously. Word had spread. Some people nodded with cautious respect, others avoided my eyes completely. The elevator ride to the 12th floor felt endless. When the doors opened, Helen Drake was waiting for me. All business as usual. "Emily," she said, "thank you for coming. Follow me." The boardroom was sleek and cold, with glass walls overlooking the city. 6 executives sat around the long table, their expressions unreadable. Helen introduced me, and the chairman, an older man named Gregory, gestured for me to sit. "Miss Carter," he began, "we appreciate your diligence and integrity. Your report prevented significant financial and reputational harm to this company. For that, we thank you." His words were formal, rehearsed, corporate. But then his tone shifted. "However, there are complexities. This investigation has revealed not just misconduct from Mr. Coleman and Miss Bennett, but additional irregularities in accounts stretching back several years." My chest tightened. "How many years?" "At least 5, he said grimly. "And the amounts far beyond what was stolen from your department," Helen added. "It appears multiple executives were aware. Some may have participated." I stared at her, stunned. "So it wasn't just Ryan?" She shook her head. "No, he was one of several." The room fell silent. I could hear my heartbeat. Gregory continued, "We intend to pursue a full external audit. However, this also means the matter cannot remain internal. There will be press inquiries, legal exposure. We must proceed carefully." "Carefully," I repeated. "So you're saying you want to cover it up?" Helen's sharp eyes flicked toward me. "We're saying we need to manage it strategically. This company employs thousands of people. A public scandal could destroy livelihoods. Or protect criminals," I said, my voice cold. Gregory sighed. "Miss Carter, we're offering you a seat on the compliance task force. Full pay increase, full authority to oversee internal reform. But we must keep this confidential until further notice." I sat there, torn. Power, they were offering. Power, but only if I stayed quiet. "You're asking me to help you fix it without exposing it." Helen met my gaze. "We're asking you to be smart." By the time I left the building, my stomach churned. They didn't want justice, they wanted containment. And worse, someone had already warned me to stop digging. That night, after Lily fell asleep, I poured myself a cup of coffee and opened my laptop. The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. The corruption went higher. Ryan and Olivia were scapegoats, sacrifices to protect whoever had been running this long before I stumbled into it. I reopened the audit report Helen had sent me to review. Deep in the metadata, I noticed something odd. The document wasn't created by Helen or legal. It was authored by someone named G. Hartman. Gregory. I froze. The chairman himself. The man who thanked me for my integrity. My hands shook as I scrolled through. Hidden in the report's appendix were redacted sections, whole pages removed from the audit summary. I checked the revision history. Those pages had been deleted 2 days after Ryan's termination. He wasn't the only one they silenced. Suddenly, my screen blinked, a pop-up warning. "Unauthorized access detected, session will close." Before I could react, the document vanished. Deleted. Then my laptop crashed. Panic surged through me. I yanked out the USB with my backups, shoved it into my bag, and grabbed my phone. A message appeared seconds later from an unknown number. "Stop digging, Emily." I turned off the phone immediately. My reflection in the dark window looked unfamiliar. Tired, fierce, unafraid now. Whoever was behind this thought intimidation would work. They still didn't understand who they were dealing with. The next morning, I met Jenna in a quiet cafe across town. She looked at me like I'd aged 5 years overnight. "You look awful," she said. "You're not going to believe this," I replied, handing her the backup drive. She plugged it into her laptop. "Half your files are corrupted," she muttered, frowning. "Someone's trying to wipe your evidence." "I know. They deleted entire audit sections, redacted stuff tied to Gregory Hartman." Janet's head snapped up. "The chairman? Are you sure?" "Positive. He's covering his own tracks." Janet stared at her screen, then looked at me. "Then you can't fight this from inside. You'll get crushed." "So I go outside. Press, regulators, whoever will listen. You'd be risking everything." "They already took everything." That afternoon, I sent an anonymous email from a burner account to a business journalist I trusted from years back, someone who'd once interviewed me for a corporate feature. I attached the redacted audit, the payroll logs, the access screenshots, and one final line. "The truth starts here." By midnight, it was online. The headline read, "Whistleblower exposes multi-million-dollar bonus fraud at prominent financial firm." Within hours, my phone exploded. Calls, emails, reporters, even government inquiries. By morning, the company stock had dropped 12%.
Gregory Hartman resigned for health reasons. I watched it in full from my kitchen, coffee in hand, heart pounding. I wasn't scared anymore, just steady. At 10 a.m., Helen Drake called. Her voice was low, strained. "You went public. I left you no choice. You've made powerful enemies. Then they shouldn't have underestimated me." Before hanging up, she sighed, "You'll probably never work here again." "Good," I said. I wasn't planning to. When I picked Lily up from school that afternoon, she ran into my arms chattering about her art project. I smiled, really smiled, for the first time in weeks. In the rearview mirror as we drove home, I caught sight of a black sedan following a few cars behind. My pulse quickened, but I didn't flinch. If they wanted to scare me, they'd have to do better. Because this time, I wasn't just fighting for a paycheck.